Frequently getting in fights with hobos over pizza crust here, it's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Now in today's episode we have 2 juicy episodes to get through, that's what she said. I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good content. Thank you. Posted by user ThrowRA Just F Me Up. Titled, I, 24 female, lost my crap at my neighbour, 30s male, and am unsure how to proceed. So, my partner, 24 male, and I moved into the place we live now in April of this year. We love our place, we love the landlord, literally the sweetest landlord I've ever had, and feel really fortunate to have a place to live and to stay in during a year filled with hardship and uncertainty for many. Since we moved in, we had a weird bit of ongoing beef with our next door neighbour, 30s male. We live in a duplex, and his unit shares several walls and ceilings/floors with ours, his floors, our ceilings. His primary form of communication with us has been to bang very hard on these shared walls and his floors/our ceiling in reaction to noises we make. At first we weren't certain the banging was directed towards us. My partner and I don't play loud music, have parties, or do anything that makes a huge amount of noise on a regular basis. We would hear the banging in the early morning, sometimes when we were using the bathroom. Bathroom door closing, sink turning on, toilet flushing, or at night when we were watching TV. The banging kept coincidentally happening when we made noise or were louder, but it was also often during activities we thought were really normal everyday activities. The banging slowly became more frequent, and got to be about 1 time a day at least. And our landlord also started sending us random messages like, please remember that quiet hours are after 10 p.m, and that your neighbours might hear more than you can should you use the washing machine past then. The day after we had done some laundry in our machine in our unit past 10 p.m. This kind of event happened more than once, so we figured that our neighbour was making more detailed complaints to the landlord. We felt bad, and my partner left our neighbour a note apologising for any noise issues, and gave the neighbour his number so he could text us directly the next time he had a problem with the noise, since we weren't sure what noises he could hear in his apartment. He never texted or responded to the note. In August, the banging was at an all-time high when he banged on our shared wall 10+ times in one day for 4 days in a row. I kept a record of it after the first day because it was so disruptive and way worse than anything he had done before. The banging was spread throughout the day, not just during quiet hours, and seemed to be in reaction to things like cooking dinner, talking on the phone, talking to my partner while in the same room, showering, and flushing the toilet. I have PTSD from a previous domestic abuse environment, and the amount of banging was giving me intense anxiety. After 4 days of it, I couldn't take it anymore, and this time I wrote a note telling him we had no idea what the banging was about, and that if he had a problem with the noise, he needed to communicate more directly. I told him about my PTSD and how it was affecting me, and asked for him to talk to us instead of banging on the walls. I gave him my number and my partner's number again in case that he'd lost the previous note, and asked him again to text in the future when he had problems with the noise so we could try to be more accommodating. After that note, the banging stopped for a while. It has recently started back up, but at a very low frequency, and again, seemingly in reaction to daily activities. So much so that we are again unsure if it is directed at us or not. He has not texted us at all since that note, nor have we talked in person. My partner and I have definitely been on edge about this, as it's hard to tell if he's just had a bad day and is banging around, taking his anger out randomly, or if it's specifically in reaction to some noise we're making. It does seem like it's in reaction to noises we make in our apartment, but we don't want to assume. Today I was outside on our apartment balcony setting up some flooring panels. It was Thursday at 1 p.m. In order to set up the flooring panels, I needed to stomp the pieces into place. This was a fairly loud activity, but I figured since it was 1 p.m, it wouldn't be an issue, and would be less loud indoors for others as it was being done outside. I had done a few panels when I heard my neighbour's sliding door open. He has a balcony above ours, and someone who sounds super pissed very quietly says, "Hey, would you stop that?" It was said so quietly that for a second, I wasn't sure if it was being said to me. He has a dog and cat, and the tone of his voice made me think of a pissed pet owner talking to their animal. I looked up to his balcony and didn't see him there. I'm about to call out and ask if he's talking to me, but before I can, I hear the sliding door closing shut already. I decide to keep going since I'm already halfway through, and also because I'm not certain he was talking to me. A few minutes later, he comes out onto his balcony again, but actually comes to the edge to make eye contact and talk directly to me. This is where I screwed up and lost my crap at him. He says, "Can you stop that? I'm working." "You talking to me, mate?" "Yes." "Well, I wouldn't know because you've been super fucking passive-aggressive to us and a huge effing a-hole. We tried to reach out to you multiple times, you have my number, you won't even try to communicate with me, and you're making this place an effing nightmare to live in. Well, can't you just do it after 5? "Yeah, sure, I'm happy to, whatever." Both of us left and went back inside. It was not my proudest moment, and I cried when I was telling him off. Since this happened, there has not been much noise or activity or anything eventful. My partner was at work when this happened, and when I told him, he was super upset and pissed too. We're planning on knocking on his door and asking him to talk face to face. Outdoors, outside the building, 6 feet apart with masks on, of course. Tomorrow, to address it. And I'm trying to figure out what to say and how to handle it. I don't like the idea of talking in person like this during the pandemic. I'm in the US, so it's really bad right now. But we've tried the written note method without any success, and the balcony interaction seems like it should definitely be addressed sooner rather than later. Looking for advice on how to approach the scenario. Thank you so much in advance for anything you would want to share. Now in the comments, Baker Miller Floyd says, "Literally just reading this post gives me insane anxiety. You should be keeping a record of this. Audio of the knocking, dates, photos of letters you leave him, etc., and complain to your landlord every single time he knocks." And OP replies, "We started doing that in August when it got crazy, and all the comments in this post are definitely making me think we should involve the landlord ASAP. I think I was naively hoping that it wouldn't come to this, since it's such a pain to be trying to build up a stack of receipts to use as legal protection in your own home, but it's starting to look like the way to go. Thank you for giving us your thoughts and advice." And Who Rescued Hugh replies, "You can download apps on your phone that register the decibels of noise. I would have it going when you do normal activities that cause him to knock, and register how loud the knocking is. There is a 99% chance your noise is completely normal, probably quiet, and the knocking is the real noise violation. This guy is a jerk, and frankly, you may have to turn it around on him. You can have his number, you can text and say, 'I would appreciate it if you did not bang on walls and ceilings at all, but during quiet hours is out of compliance with our landlord. If your noise violations continue, I will contact the landlord directly as well. Explain to your landlord that you are not causing excessive noise at all, and are sorry that they are mixed up in this, but that the banging and knocking is excessive and not in keeping with quiet hours. I would also say that the next time he asks you to stop making noise during the day, don't do it, as it sets a precedence, and the next thing you know, you'll be saying you won't flush the toilet between 8 PM and 8 AM, or whatever nutty requests he thinks you want to accommodate. I would reiterate, quiet hours are after 10 PM, not necessarily during your specific work hours. I apologize if this is an inconvenience, but I am following the guidelines set out by our landlord. When I'm able to accommodate additional requests by you, if reasonable and communicated respectfully and in a timely way, I will." Thank you so much. I really appreciate how specific this advice is. We actually do not have his number or any contact info, which is why we left him the notes with our numbers and asked him to text and call us. Since he's never done that, we have no way to contact him aside from in person or via notes on his door or through the landlord. Lex Wolf says, "I'd be highly surprised if he even opens the door to you. Why aren't you complaining to the landlord? This kind of thing, neighbour disputes, appears on r/legal advice regularly. And OP replies, I didn't realise that this was bad enough to cross over into legal advice territory. My partner and I still thought that this could be an interpersonal issue that we could work out between us without getting the landlord involved. I wanted to say something to the landlord, but we thought that this wasn't an issue that he could or would necessarily do anything about, so we didn't plan on involving him yet. Is this something that we should consider getting legal advice for? I thought he was just being an asshole, but not necessarily doing something illegal. Yes, this person will likely continue to make your living situation uncomfortable and escalate his unreasonable behavior. You need to start documenting things. Each time he bangs on your walls, you need to try to get a recording of it, as well as sending a complaint to your landlord. A separate complaint for every single incident of the neighbour pounding on the walls. If he does it 10 times in a day, you submit 10 complaints. Anything else he does that feels confrontational to you, or any other time he tries to tell you what to do outside the rules of the apartment complex, coming out, telling you not to make noise in the middle of the afternoon like he did, submit a complaint. Keep a copy of every complaint that you send in, and the response. If you don't get a response, keep following up until you do. Yes, make sure you get a reply for every separate complaint. If this guy is going to make your life a pain in the ass, it can be a pain in the ass for the property manager too. That's the only thing that will get the property manager to do something about it. And OP replies, thank you for this advice. This has really gone in a different direction than I had originally thought. We were hoping for a friendlier and less legal resolution, but I'm starting to realize he may be more malignant than I wanted to believe. When I tell my landlord, what extent do you think I should share me yelling at my neighbour too? I don't want to hide that, but also not sure how to best let him know about it. He's not a babysitter. Make complaints about the condition of the habitation and noise levels, not about having told your neighbour what he needed to hear. And now to OP's update. First, wanted to say a sincere thank you for all your comments. I didn't expect this to get that many upvotes or comments, and I think this story resonated with a lot of people, especially while we're all spending so much time at home. I appreciated reading your experiences and advice. They really helped me feel less worried and scared about the situation. The update is that my partner and I decided to let my landlord know what's up. We like our landlord and feel like we have a good relationship with him, and the majority of the comments made us realize we needed to get him involved. We also decided to not approach our neighbour directly again at this point. We sent our landlord an email detailing the events with our neighbour from April until now, last night around 9. We also offered to have him measure and validate our noise levels if he wanted to, as we're confident we generate a very average amount of living noise. We had 2 friends who we are in a quarantine bubble with over for dinner yesterday who helped us draft the email and make it more concise and less emotional. We ate dinner, then watched TV, and they left at around 11:30 p.m. In a surprising turn of events, our neighbour finally texted my partner to complain about the noise that was made when we were saying bye to our friends and they were leaving. Which is fine. It was past 10 and they were on their way out anyways. But we finally have his phone number and a way to communicate that isn't indiscriminate wall banging. And this morning our landlord has already let us know that he read our message, that he was sorry about the problems that we've had with our neighbour, and that he wanted to talk with us some more this afternoon. I'm a little nervous but feel mostly good about it. A lot of your stories made me feel grateful for my crappy neighbour, as I don't think he's mentally ill or psychotic or shady or a creep. I think he just isn't very considerate or friendly, and a lot more bark than bite. I think if we had responded more firmly from the beginning, that he would have backed down a lot, and that us trying to be diplomatic or patient emboldened him to continue treating us rudely. During our time living here, the banging has been on and off inconsistently in response to different noises. For example, banging when the toilet flushes, but only for a few days in a row here and there. Not every toilet flush every day. While our lifestyle hasn't changed much, so it seems to us like his noise sensitivity might be connected to his emotional state and not the building's acoustics. Either way, that is for our landlord to determine now. This has been an unpleasant but eye-opening experience. Thank you all again for sharing your thoughts. So what do you guys think of this one? Have you been in disputes similar to this one in the past, and what have you done to resolve these situations? I'd love to know any and all thoughts that you guys have about this one down in the comments below. As always, I encourage discussion that, whatever you can learn from people or whatever you can teach others down in the comments is always appreciated. Our next post is by user ThrowRA Gaming Group, titled, "What do I do about someone I can't stand joining my gaming group that I run? Mainly 30s folks." So I run a gaming group, mainly 30s folks, some 20s and some 40s, that has a few real-life friends in it. I am the leader and plan most of the things for the group. I do approximately 80% of the work in regards to the group in terms of time investment, recruitment, making materials, etc., but I have a small officer team, and we mainly vote on kicks and guild policy. We have recently had someone join called Jess that I can't stand. I could list you a million reasons, but it boils down to the fact that Jess is a very depressed and insecure person that is consistently looking for pity and any possible scrap of attention. My friends are far more empathetic than me, I guess, because I just can't stand the constant pleas for attention. If it's relevant, Jess and I are both women, as are over half of our guildmates. I brought my concerns about Jess up to the other guild leadership, and it's split. About a third agreed with me, a third don't seem to care, and the last third seem to like Jess and think it's my personal problem. So the guild officers know how little I enjoy Jess's company already. It's now been another couple of weeks, and Jess is now getting on to hang out in our voice chat. As such, I'm around less to avoid the interaction. It sucks, but it is what it is. I'm lucky in that Jess plays on our B team, which I don't run, but there's no reason she can't apply to our A team, which I do run. Sadly, it's at a point now where it's likely that Jess is going to apply to A team, and it's going to come to a head. I don't want to allow Jess into my group, which again, I lead, and I have no desire to play together. However, I am also a part of a team. However, again, I do 80% of the damn work for this group, so I feel like I should have a say. But I also feel bad about imposing my will. I can kick anyone as a guild leader on the group. What do I do here? Suck it up and run a game that allows Jess is not on the table, as I spend 20 to 30 hours a week with these folks, and I'm not willing to let it become a whiny nightmare for me. Do I step down over this, or pull rank and turf her without a vote? I can't think of a third option. And in the comments, PooPooPPDLX says, anything besides a guild vote is bullcrap and controlling. So, in your opinion, I should step down as I'm not willing to allow her in my group? Either step down or do the dick move and lose some friends. The thing about stepping down is, they don't have anyone else to lead or do the stuff that I'm currently doing. I'm currently off with pay, well, extremely light duties lol, so I have a lot of free time the others don't. I feel like I'm going to be stuck doing these runs with someone I hate, and that it's inevitable and I just don't want to. But I'm also afraid of being thought of as an asshole for stepping down and refusing to do all the stuff that I do just because I don't like someone. Like, I think my value to the group eclipses her by a large margin to our average guild member, so forced to pick, I think they would pick me to stay. Like, who else would lead A team? But I don't want this situation happening at all. Neither option is good. Posting this has made me realize how well and truly stuck I am. In that case, you've pretty much backed yourself into a corner. You could always try and talk to this girl one-on-one and see if you guys could find a compromise and explain what's happening and how her attitude is affecting certain people. Don't need to drop names or anything, but I don't know how comfortable either you or her would be with that. And user Blay says, as a former guildmaster myself, don't let yourself get trapped in situations that make you miserable during most of your leisure time. Teams have a limited amount of spots. Just say that she isn't needed in your group. If your other officers complain, you can simply make damn well clear that A, you were doing most of the work, B. No one has to be forced to be with someone they can't stand, and you were there first. Your other option. Do the runs with Jess. As soon as Jess gets whiny, you cut her off and redirect everyone's attention to the damn raid. Once Jess realizes she isn't getting what she wants, she will leave on her own. You don't even need to be rude about it. Jess, we're in the middle of a raid. Please save the personal talk for a different time and situation. And Failure Education says, this reminds me back when I was in marching band. I had this one girl that I very much disliked join the front ensemble, and we were going to be spending a lot of time together. My best strategy was just to ignore her. If you find someone who is annoying, it's easiest to ignore them, since it sounds like most problems come from listening to this person. I'm fairly young and not sure if that applies to this situation though, so my bit of advice is just ignore them and not let them ruin what you love. And OP replies, I currently have her on ignore. It's working the best it can, however, if she's allowed to join my A-team, she's going to have to be unmuted and unignored by me in order to communicate with her for the group objectives. Well, in that case, it's probably best to just remove her from the situation if there is no other pacifist option. And now onto the update. So I posted a few days ago about someone who had joined my guild. I'm the guild leader that I couldn't stand, who was probably going to try to join my raid group. Well, it happened a couple days ago. She applied for my group. Her app was posted and I basically gave my honest opinion in the private discussion that I didn't want to play with her due to personality mismatch, and I found she had been very difficult to get along with due to her behavior. It turns out that the majority of the team that I play with feels the same way, and it came to light she had committed repeated rule violations that people were rug sweeping because they felt bad for her depression. Basically, she would get warned, but they wouldn't write it down because, I don't know, pity? She ended up being kicked via vote for breaking too many rules. Though it did not make me popular, there was also no backlash. It seemed like something that had to get done that nobody wanted to do. My lovely group is back to normal, and I am so relieved. I want to thank everyone that told me to not give my free time to someone that bothered me so intensely. Turns out my group thought so too, but they felt bad and were just trying to be nice. Thanks to your excellent advice, we are not stuck with someone who was a huge drag on our runs. And in the comments, Finally Looking says, I think this is a great example of leadership and making a hard decision. I've been in a professional setting where one person was very problematic. When I finally got the courage to bring it up to the whole group, everyone wholeheartedly agreed, and we made it a plan to deal with it. People often just need the opening. Had a guy at work that basically thought everyone else was an idiot. Every assignment was easy, and he never accepted any help. He was supposed to deliver stuff for me from QA, but got mad when his first stuff didn't pass, and never delivered anything else. He was eventually let go. We're still finding weird crap he worked on that we have to redo. Worked with a similar guy. I thought I was the a-hole for a while because everyone seemed to like him and he was the clown. This was at a hospital. He would jump scare co-workers around corners. When you'd be on another floor and call down for help or with a question, he'd put on a fake voice and pretend that you had a wrong number. He had been married to a nurse in another department, and they were divorcing, which, hey, I get it. Hurts like hell. But he would emotionally dump on anyone he spoke to. One day I finally had enough and I was like, John, please, I'm here to work. When I call, it's because I need help and I'm caring for a patient. What if that patient was you or your son? I've asked you repeatedly not to jump scare and grab me and you still do it. Why? And I feel for you. Work is work, not group therapy about your divorce. I need you to be professional, please. It makes it hard to get our job done here when you do these things. And everyone that was standing there was like, yeah man, the jump scare's gotta stop. And, dude, just answer the phone like a normal person. She's right. These people had all defended and put up with him before. And Madame Kitsune says, I'm a deputy GM, and we had a similar situation with a player recently. They had issues, a lot of issues, And at first, we tried to be as accommodating and inclusive as possible, even bending over backwards to talk through and explain why we couldn't tolerate some of their behavior when normally they'd be kicked without a second thought. It didn't work. Soon there wasn't a day that went by that we weren't firefighting the latest upset that they'd caused with someone else, or trying to calm them down because they'd decided another guild member was out to get them. In one case, because the other person didn't say hello to them when they logged on. People stopped coming on and staying online if they were about, and were avoiding going voice if they saw they were there. In the end, we had to go for a full come to Jesus talk, which went about as well as you'd expect, with excuses, blame shifting, accusations of discrimination, and outright threats against personal safety. They left us no choice but to kick and permaban them from ever coming back. The first and only time we've ever refused someone a second chance in all our years of playing. You handled this in exactly the right way. A good, happy corner of the gaming community can take years to develop, and can still be torn apart in weeks by letting the wrong person in. Congrats on dodging the kind of bullet that nearly blew a hole in us. And I think that's where I'm going to leave today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed these stories. Have you yourself been a guildmaster in these situations, or been surrounded by people like this, where a particular individual is blowing a hole in you guys? I can't say I've been part of things like Dungeons & Dragons groups before, but that gives me ideas for the future to be doing it, as a separate project, because it does sound like a lot of fun. And I can imagine these things would absolutely destroy the magic of it all. So I'd love to know your opinions on this one down in the comments below, and any advice that you would have for OP. As always, I hope you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.